One of the key ways that you get leads is by researching prospective customers in a niche, then adding the list of those prospective customers, their businesses, to a sheet, then taking that list and one by one, you research who you should reach out to for that business. What hasn't been done before at the scale that we're seeing it now with the automation tools and with AI is just fully automating that whole thing, right? The outbound process, then you can have this agent with N8N that will search through every single URL. It'll grab the CIO, the CEO, the CTO, the chief operating officer, right? It'll then verify the email. It'll go to their LinkedIn and get some information about them. And then it can craft a personalized message to each person.
Hello. Today I have the pleasure to introduce Lucas Erb. Lucas is the founder of AIexperts.com, a one-stop shop for automating small and mid-sized businesses. He is a published author, keynote speaker, and a member of the LinkedIn's distinguished invite-only Top Voice program. With a background in computer science and big data, he has spent the last decade in tech as both a software engineer and consultant. For the past 5 years, he has advised Fortune 500 executives on emerging technologies like AI and automation. Today, he helps business leaders make confident, strategic bets in an increasingly fast-moving landscape. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, a fellow technologist. And so
That's right.
let's dive right into the main topic. Which Mac are you using to run your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So MacBook Pro is where I'm at. And right now, you can't see on screen, obviously, but to the side of my desk, I have my Mac sitting in clamshell mode and plugged into an external monitor. It's set up so that I actually have a custom made little wooden stand for the Mac to stand there and slot in perfectly. And then when I want to go and meet some friends for coffee or go out to a meeting of some kind in the office, I can just grab and unplug that Mac really quickly, throw it in the backpack and run. So that's why I operate it like that. Sometimes I'll actually operate open and things like this, but the MacBook Pro is where it's at. It's the most powerful, and it brings sort of all the things that I need as an on-the-go New Yorker here starting a business.
Mm-hmm. And is it a one cable situation, or do you have multiple cables, one for the monitor, one for other hardware?
Yeah, this could be a superstition. You tell me, Damien, with all your experience. I have 2 cables. My thought is maybe I shouldn't put all of my eggs in one basket and run everything through one Thunderbolt slot, one USB-C. And so I have, sort of the microphone and the camera and the charger plugged into one, have a dongle that's connected and does that. And then I have the monitor itself plugged into a separate cable as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are monitors that act as hubs, and that can also, I guess that's also maybe your situation, is the monitor who is powering the MacBook at the same time. But those monitors, like the Studio Display from Apple, you basically plug one cable, it is itself, it has power, and then you can plug other things to the monitor, and they automatically appear on the MacBook.
If I had a do-over, I would buy one of those monitors right away. Because the idea of having one cable that slides right in, even some friends of mine, they have one of those docks where you can slide the Mac perfectly into that one slot. And so there is no cable. You just sort of, you get home and you just put it right into place, and then you're off to the races, and the thing powers on, everything works as you would expect it to. I love that idea.
Yeah, I really like the idea. The only thing that I would be a bit worried about, and for me it would be related to hard drive connected to the hub or connected to the monitor. First of all, I would be paranoid, so I would have a hard drive connected 24/7 to the monitor for time machine backups. The issue is that when you have a external storage attached to the Mac somehow, you need to properly eject it before you disconnect the cables, right? So if you just have like you have now, the camera and the microphone, it doesn't matter. You plug it in, plug it out. There's no big deal. But with a hard drive, maybe that's also a tip for the listeners, in case you don't know, but whenever you tell macOS with Finder to copy a file from your Mac to an external hard drive, even though it looks like it's copied, has done the dong, you think
Right,
you
right.
think it's copied, but actually
It's still processing.
it may be processing, right? That's just the thing.
Yeah.
Depending on what other thing the Mac is doing. Yeah, that's the
And,
thing.
and if by chance, you said you're running sort of a auto saving and auto timekeeper here. If by chance it's transferring a file mid ejection, you're just going to lose that file. It'll be permanently corrupted, right?
Yeah, that's the issue. Yes.
That's a big issue. I'm curious, I mean, does that issue go away a little bit with some of these solid state drives that people are using, right? So there's no spinning disk inside, but perhaps the thing transfers so quickly, and even the fact that the data is a little bit more persistent means that you're not risking anything by quickly unplugging.
Yeah, so transfer speed is one thing. So yes, it's true that it's going faster, but it's really it's a cache issue. So what's happening is the computer is telling, or Finder is telling us that it has copied the file, but behind the scene, there is still some part of the file either in memory or in memory basically. And so it's not yet fully copied it's not fully registered onto the external drive. And it doesn't matter if it's SSD or spinning hard drive. The only advantage of an SSD is that if you shake it by mistake, right, that will not have an effect on the copy.
Okay. Really thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was this time back in the day when one of my hard drives broke down, and this was years ago. But of course, what happens next is you unscrew the little box, you pull off the top, you get to see those magnetic little sliding hands that they have in there, and the plates, I don't even know what they're made of, but little silver metallic type plates that are storing the data.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it's entirely fascinating how we were able to do this.
Yeah. And the density that they are able to cram now in those hard drives.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, if we talk about density and having space on our Mac, what is taking space on in the applications folder? What are the top apps that you rely upon to run your business?
There are so many, right? Too many to count. But in the interest of reducing application fatigue, I think we all probably have about 100 that we're changing between, and maybe there's 100 more you have on your to-try list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in naming the few that have added the most value to me recently.
Mm-hmm.
And so for myself, as sort of an automation and AI guy, I'm looking for the applications that at their core, they're still just a very beneficial app to use, right? At their core, it's an intuitive user interface. It's a thing that adds value to my day-to-day on a specific task, a specific workflow that I'm already doing. And then they add a little bit of AI, just as like the sugar on top, right? The cherry on top, the icing on top of the cake, that helps things to be running smoother, that helps my job as sort of the operator or user of an application to not be as cumbersome. And so I'll share a couple of ones, maybe starting with the simplest. One is called Granola, and I love this app. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've heard another guest mention using Granola, yes, but I've never used it myself.
Okay, so this is just one of many who are trying to solve this problem, but all it does is transcribes meetings for me. But the thing that's cool about Granola is they baked in a very intuitive interface, just like I have on sort of the Apple Notes app. Mm-hmm. So how you just open up a new note and you can jot down any ideas you have. Granola said, well, let's transcribe the meeting live. And then as you're in the meeting, you can take whatever notes you are going to take, the key points that stand out to you, the ideas that really are valuable, maybe a screenshot if you'd like to add that into your notes. And then after the fact, they just do a little bit of processing on your computer there using AI to take the transcript and summarize everything that just happened. You can send that off to friends if you want. You can even add automations on top of that might send, an automated email or something to a friend after you've had a meeting. But the real special thing is just taking, again, the basic functionality that I wanted to have, making it as simple as possible. There are other applications that are still good in the market, like Otter AI, for example, Firefly. But I think sometimes simplicity is the ultimate form of abundance, and it's just so much better to have it simple.
So how does it work? So you're in a meeting, you have a note open, I suspect you're taking some notes yourself manually, and is
Yep.
Granola rewriting what you're writing on the fly, or how does it work?
Yeah. So there's essentially a note section that's for you,
Mhm.
and you can go through during the meeting. It'll just be your notes, so they won't go in and kind of interject thoughts while you're typing, because I think that might be a little confusing.
Yeah.
But after the fact, once the meeting has ended,
Mhm.
then it will go and it'll create a separate sort of automated summary note tab.
Okay.
And the cool thing about that tab as well is you can actually format it based off of the type of meeting you're in. And so say you're, an entrepreneur pitching an investor, that type of meeting, maybe you want to take really elaborate notes from the transcript that are about the investor's feedback, right?
Mhm.
What questions did they have that I was unable to answer? But then if you're in a call with a client, perhaps what you want to take down in the notes that you want the AI to be looking for in the transcript is, well, what were the pain points? What were the problems that the customer experienced,
Mhm.
And so looking at things from those different angles for each meeting is important. And the AI will actually let you select and customize that per meeting, which is pretty.
Ah, yeah, wow. So it's like a meeting template or a note-taking template that you tell Granola, okay, this is this kind of meeting. Summarize or focus your attention on those, and only surface those things out of the transcript. Do I understand correctly?
That's it. That's it. And you have the full transcript as well. So if you wanted to look through and just rehash some of the sentences that were said,
Mhm.
you can do that. And also they have sort of a live web feature, so you can click in and then actually have a conversation with those notes if you need to in the future. So it's really helpful stuff.
Mhm. But if I do I understand correctly, it's still outside of Apple Notes. It's
That's right.
in a separate application, and afterwards, if I want to copy paste from Granola to an Apple Note, I can. But it's separate at the
Exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Yep. And you could send emails, with those notes and things. But that's right. If you wanted an Apple Note, if you wanted a Notion, Granola only helps you with their own note taking app. And what you could do is you could port some of those over to other apps if you needed to.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, okay.
that's
Can
a
I get
good
a
one.
little more geeky?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah,
can I
go
go
ahead.
for another one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now we're going a little bit. I'm rolling up my sleeves here. A little more technical on the AI stuff. So if anybody here is currently thinking about some of the latest in automation or in AI for code, this is the stuff that gets me the most excited, right? My background is computer science. I spent a lot of time developing various applications over the years. And two quick thoughts, right? One, needing to know software engineering and computer science as a skill set has completely gone out the door for most businesses. It's just a completely revolutionary concept. And so you're hearing this and you're thinking, this guy is crazy. There's no way we're there yet. There's this graph that's really popular right now flying around. There's a study of software engineering jobs that were available on Indeed.com.
Mhm.
And so for all my friends in software, I'm sorry to be saying this. I know it's a miserable thing to be saying, but basically there's a bell curve where the interest in new openings for jobs for software engineering went up, 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 peaked at about 2021 timeframe. ChatGPT comes out, and now all of these in the preceding years, it's completely bell curved in the opposite direction. All of these open job openings have disappeared from the market, and there's just much less interest in hiring on more developers because with AI, developers are able to accomplish more with less.
Mhm.
And so the tool that I'm really particularly excited about, there's this thing called Cursor, which is it's a pair programmer essentially with AI. What you have is you have the code on the left and you have the AI on the right. And the really special thing here is you don't really have to at this point. People are doing what they call vibe coding, which is like you just fully embrace that the AI is going to write the code for you, to solve the problem for you. And you sit back and you become the director of a team of AI agents that can write the code, that can understand the code, that know what dependencies you have in your file system, that can install things for you. There's legitimate concerns here. You have to be smart about security and understanding what you're doing a little bit. But what this means is we have people developing applications now who have never made an app before. There's this viral video of a girl who was 8 years old that was able to learn how to code what probably took me my whole first year of computer science to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a year of understanding all of these complex languages that go into, what we know as the internet and the web today for applications. And along comes this 8-year-old who has enough curiosity and creativity to begin experimenting with the new tools. And she's able to build something really incredible. And so I just think we're really under embracing right now the opportunities available to us as creatives, as if you kind of consider yourself an ideas person. Mm-hmm. Tools like Cursor, and I'll name another one really quickly, but there's another one called N8N, which is not about code, but is actually more about automating your workflows, kind of like Zapier, but with AI in between. Mm-hmm. And these things are just, it's incredible. It's going to change the way that we interact with apps. It's going to allow us to build applications that didn't exist before for specifically our problem. And so maybe if your app doesn't exist on the App Store yet, maybe you can build it, and maybe you will be the person that puts it on the App Store for everyone else to use. I find that to be tremendous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still see value in learning computer science, let's say principles, but you're right, not necessarily going as deep as I went through as well. When I started university, I learned programming with Pascal, and then I went to Fortran, and then I went to
Yep.
C++, and then afterwards I settled on Python. But funnily enough, I've discovered another kind of automation or AI automation platform, and on that one they are very much on JavaScript, and I have no idea how JavaScript works, but
Okay.
that
But
thing
you can do it.
spit out some code, and then I gave it to ChatGPT, I gave it to Gemini, and said, help me understand. But I know enough, right? I know Python, I know programming, so it was not difficult afterwards to reverse engineer what the code was about.
Exactly.
But still, I think the thing is that as long as, and we can even say children, as long as children develop logical thinking and critical thinking, and maybe a little bit of collaboration, I think it will be plenty. And your mention about the job listings for programmers, I think it just means that there is less need for hiring programmers, but those programmers who would not have found a job, now I think they will be able to actually sustain themselves as independent developer easier thanks to AI. Yeah?
I agree. I think existing software engineers can now do 10 to 100 times the speed on implementing a new feature or a new front end for their application. Solving the core problems underneath, that's still really hard. Like if you think about Uber for a second, right? As an application, Uber, what do? That you hail a taxi, right? This is something we've all done for years, right? You can call up a taxi on the phone, and here I am in New York City. If I want to, I can just run out on the street and start waving at a yellow car, and it'll come down and pick me up. The thing that is difficult for Uber is they had to figure out, okay, we have 1,000 drivers around you at any given moment. Which one do we select to route towards you? How long is it going to take to route towards you? Which one do we select to go and route to this other person? What's the optimal route in between, right? How do we make sure that the fuel efficiency is good, and that when they arrive at this next place, that there's another, ride request available for them, and they're not just going to get stranded wherever they go. And so there's all these calculations underneath that are inherently deeply mathematical. And AI at this point in time is not removing the critical thinking and the creativity required to find those solutions. All it's doing is making it easier to achieve them once you know what you want built. And so if you're somebody without dev experience, what it means is, maybe you're not a 100x developer. You won't be as good as the guy who, has been writing applications their entire career, but you might actually be able to just pick things up and start building your idea and build that front end demo that gets you to that table, to that conversation, that builds, the inkling of an idea just far enough that somebody can experiment and try it to where then it becomes a real thing. And so I think the obstacle to creativity is just being obliterated by AI. There are less obstacles and much more just imagination now involved in what we can do.
Yeah, the way I see AI at the moment is it is fostering personalization, and it's what I see in the education space. It will be personalized learning, much more personalized learning. That's one thing. And then when we talk about applications, or when we talk about other things that AI can do, is going to be personalized. So someone might have a very specific need, be able to not pay anyone, just have the AI subscription that they pay every month, and create their own little app. And it will just for that. And it doesn't matter, right? It's a market of one. But it's the perfect solution, right? There will be nothing as good as the thing that you create to scratch your own itch. And on the creativity side, very few people know that, but I released an album about 10 years ago, electronic music album on what's the platform? I don't remember now the platform. But basically, I had given myself a challenge to create songs using the iPad. And it was 100% human creativity. But then, like 4 weeks ago or a month ago, I was in the couch and I was like, could I make a song for my cat, about my cat? And I did that in 20 minutes with, I think it's Udio or Suno or something like that.
Suno is fantastic. I'm not sure of the other one.
So there was a little bit of creativity. So I gave the topic of the lyrics. It created the lyrics for me, but I gave the topic, I gave the feeling, I gave the style of music that I wanted. And it created three iterations or three versions. And one of them was very good.
Very good. Sometimes it makes songs that are actually, they're good enough that I would listen to them. If it was in my Spotify, I would just, hit that little like button and it would come up again and again and again. And I would actually listen to those songs. And they're generated entirely by AI, as you mentioned. And so it begs a question, right? Is the ability to develop sort of a uniquely beautiful or interesting piece of music, is that a human skill? Or is that a skill that can be abstracted away by algorithms? I think real art will remain. You think about how photography has become this immense, industry with all of this really great talent involved, but how painting is still this coveted art that we have. We have legitimate painters today, and we have artists that are finding new and expressive ways to put their emotions on a page or on paper. And I think just those talents, they don't go away, right? The existence of the electric guitar doesn't make the acoustic any less interesting. But I do think with AI, unfortunately it's going to make it so much easier for folks like you and me who aren't, at least myself, I'm not a musician, but I can create a song now with AI. It's going to make it a little bit harder for the real artists to stand out as well.
Yeah. So as we are already in the AI segment anyway, so let's continue. I wanted to come back to N8N. Could you explain to the listeners why you like it so much, maybe how you use it, and 3, how is it better or different than Zapier or Make.com?
I think that's the perfect question. I'm glad you asked. So camping all of these applications together, right? These workflow automation tools. You might say Zapier is the biggest or the most well-known, right? Many of us have been working with Zapier for 10 years at this point as sort of a small business entrepreneur that needs to send off an automated email to a client, or that needs, for example, like if you post something on Twitter, you just want to have that tweet that you posted automatically saved to your own little Google Note or to your own little separate application somewhere. Zapier makes it easy to connect things together and do those integrations without having to be a programmer. And so for a long time, this automation has been a common thing that businesses do. The big difference now is where we used to have code sort of just connecting up in a very, the word is deterministic, right? In computer science, I'm sure you're super well familiar, Damien, but determinism is where, you have a very clear expected outcome and you have a very clear expected input. And almost mathematically, you can say, okay, if this happens, then I want this to happen. And with code, you can write that very easily. But with AI now, we're able to solve for problems that are a little bit more ambiguous. Rather than having the code go, okay, when you see an exact Twitter post that has this heading, then I want you to add it to this note. And when you have a Twitter post that has a different heading, the B heading, I want you to add it to a different note over here. Right now, what we can do, if we're using the same example, you could have 100 Twitter posts that are completely random in nature. And you can have an AI in between with a non-deterministic decision-making process that says, I'm going to select how these are organized and where they go for you. I'm going to organize your random tweets into a really impressive table that then you can use for analysis later on and to figure out which tweet has performed the best for your business. And so the example I'll use now, getting a little bit more tactical on N8N and why I think it's magic, is because they've created a way to do this, which is, again, no code. It's kind of click and drag interfaces, and you can connect to virtually any open application on the internet. And so imagine with me for a second, and this is an automation I'm using on my business. Imagine if your business is, one of the key ways that you get leads is by researching prospective customers in a niche, then adding the list of those prospective customers, their businesses, adding like the list of the names or the URLs of that business to a sheet. Then taking that list and you go and you one by one, you research who the contact is that you should reach out to for that business, right? So you find perhaps it's the operations lead, or perhaps it's the CEO or the CIO that you're trying to reach, right? You find a list of these names. Then for each one, you add them to some sort of email finder application so you can get their contact. For each one, you find their LinkedIn URL and you get their LinkedIn. And then one by one, you sort of just go and you message them. You say, hey, we have a great app for you and I'd love to chat about how it can help your business. And you do that for every single person, one by one by one. Now, that whole process, there are automations that have helped along the way. What hasn't been done before at the scale that we're seeing it now with the automation tools and with AI is what I'll describe to you as just fully automating that whole thing. Right? The outbound process now for my business personally, what I can do is I can plug in a list of URLs. Let's just say I want to target like auto dealerships as an industry. So I can find online a list of the top 100 auto dealerships in the US. It's publicly available information, right? From that list, then you can have this agent with N8N that will go in and will search through every single URL. It'll grab the CIO, the CEO, the CTO, the chief operating officer, right? Grab your list of contacts. It'll grab their email. It'll then go and verify the email to make sure it's real. It'll go to their LinkedIn and get some information about them. What do they like? What do they not like? And then it can craft a personalized message to each person that says, hey, I would really love to help you. Trust me, this is not some sleazy automation tactic. I really just want to talk to you about how we can maybe work together and help your business. If that's something that you're interested in, please go ahead and reach out to this email or just respond to me right here. And I think this process, right, of going from idea to implementation now on whatever it is you're trying to do, it used to take hundreds of hours of work, and now we're automating it away with things like N8N.
Yeah. So I'm offering IT training, IT training here in Luxembourg. So that's my main business. I've started offering obviously artificial intelligence training, and my pet peeve right now is when people talk about and they say the word agent, but actually what they mean is assistant.
Right.
It's not really agent. And I always get asked the question, what's an agent? What's the difference between an agent and an assistant? And so for me, the word agent is part of agency. And if you have agency, it means you can make decisions. And that means there is some autonomy. And so if an AI system, if a system that you have designed can make decisions on your behalf, then it's an agent. If they cannot, it's not an agent. And so the tool I was mentioning earlier, I was referring to, it's called Mind Studio, and they call themselves a way to create agents with no code or low code, because still I needed to have some JavaScript in the loop. But when I look at it, it's, as you say, it's totally deterministic. I have put all the ifs, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that. And the only AI component of that whole workflow, automated workflow, is the fact that Claude or ChatGPT is processing some text and then proofreading it, right? So it's a input output through AI. So AI is processing some text the same way that you would copy paste text in a ChatGPT prompt and then ask it to proofread it, and it spits out something. I just automated the fact that it does a big blob of text. Actually, it's the subtitles for my YouTube videos. If you ask ChatGPT to proofread them or Claude, it's too much. And it's not so much a problem of a context window. It's a problem of not being able to go through 1,000 lines of text, which has timestamp to timestamp text. Right. So I feed it the SRT, the caption file. So it's caption number 1 from 00 seconds to 1 second. And then a few words, space, or return, and then again. Yep. So it's a mix of numbers, timestamps, and text. And I ask it to only proofread the text part, to not mess up the thing. And I realized I cannot do that in one go. I have to split it in small parts. The moral of the story is, I thought I had created an agent, but I have created an assistant, right? And from what I have seen with N8N, so for those who are not familiar with Zapier or Make.com, is basically you have different modules and you plug them one after the other. You do this, you do that, you do that. Before ChatGPT, we only could do stuff that were like create a post, save as a row in Google Sheet, create a doc, update a doc, right? It's very simple actions. Since we have ChatGPT, now we can embed AI actions. So basically we give prompt plus maybe some information coming from the previous steps. But basically we have now AI steps within our automation, but it's still, as you said, totally deterministic. What I've seen with N8N is that they have this special node, right? This AI node, which has multiple branches. So in Zapier term, a box has just one thing in and then one thing out, right? There's just one link between every step of a process. Whereas with N8N, you have this special node where you can have multiple inputs, multiple outputs, and you can also have like knowledge and basically you don't, the prompt, do I understand correctly that the prompt is the decision kind of thing? That's how it makes decisions?
Right. So prompting the AI is how you introduce a little bit of decision making. So if, for example, let's just say you're posting content on the internet, and part of your process for posting content is first you do some research, right? You search online to see what's happened in the news for your subject. Say you're a sports poster online, right? So every day you tweet something out about what's happened in the world of sports. Well, part of the decision-making process you have as a human being is you get all of these really interesting articles and you have to decide which one is the most interesting and worthy of posting and talking about. And so if you imagine for a second that is the decision step, then, depending on how broad your definition is of agent, right, it's remarkably simple. But you could have an agent that takes in 100 articles from the internet every day and then sort of goes through iteratively and narrows down the list. So maybe it starts with 100, narrows it down to 50, then goes from 50 to 25, from 25 to 10. Eventually you arrive at what the agent or team of agents have decided is the most newsworthy article for you to then go and post. Mm-hmm. And the reason this is possible is because we have these deep reasoning agents now today. We have agents that, rather than just being the early ChatGPT era where it took in some text and then it spit out the most likely next character, now it's actually a little bit more aligned with our goals and desires as human beings, where these agents are on tests, they're proven to be highly persuasive, right? Like more persuasive than human beings on some of these tests. Mm-hmm. And they're proven to be sort of mathematically competent, so they can solve math problems for you in between your process. And they're proven to be, capable of doing things like passing the bar exam, which I've never done as a human being and probably never will be able to do. Mm-hmm. That introduces a whole world of possibility in how we're making decisions today. What happens if we actually allow an agent to make that decision for you, or at least to reduce the amount of work that you have before you make the final decision yourself? We might call that human in the loop. So you can put yourself in the loop of the decision, where the AI agents will go and make a whole lot of work done for you. And then you get sort of the finalized report and the final say so on what's worth saying and what's worth posting, for example.
Yeah, if you come back to the earlier example of your LinkedIn thing, right? The N8N agent could just populate the Google Sheet with, for every row. So this is the text that I suggest you send via an email, and you still have oversight, right? You can decide, okay, you can tweak the text that was generated by the AI agent. You can decide, or maybe this person, I wouldn't say it that way, or that person I will not contact immediately. I will see first because we have somebody in common, right? Yeah, in LinkedIn, you can see if you have somebody in common, you are second level contact, and maybe you reach out through the other person before and stuff like that.
Yep, that's exactly it. So every decision that you would have made as a human being scrolling through the site now, you might be able to make with the AI. And this goes, deeper than just automation tools too. A lot of folks are working today around the clock to build sort of general purpose intelligence that can be used online. And so there's a future world we're stepping into where you might just speak into ChatGPT or speak into Anthropic's Claude AI and say, hey, I'd like you to visit Airbnb for me, and pull up the 10 most interesting Airbnbs that are A-frame cabins in New Jersey, because I want to go out to New Jersey this weekend and just have a trip away from the city, And that sort of question today, it has its complexities, because I personally, I want to make that decision well, and I want to be doing the thinking myself. But the better that we come to work with AI and intelligence, and the more we come to trust that it's actually narrowing down those results well for us, we might find a world where, the agent is able to visit virtually any website online and fully automate the click-through process. And you might just say goodbye to your screen for a little while, because it might be a nice world to live in where we can hang out with our friends and not have to look at a screen while we're talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mention in my training sessions. The easiest way to get your feet wet with agents is simply to run a deep research query in Gemini or ChatGPT. And yeah, you will be amazed. The number of articles, the number of websites that it visits on its own, right? It's doing a first pass, it's finding websites, going through certain websites, it finds other websites to visit. And I've had a deep research run for 21 minutes.
Wow.
And it was about the US tax system.
It's almost hilarious, right? That if you had asked anyone 10 years ago, hey, would you use an application that takes 21 minutes to accomplish a task for you? there's nobody who would have said yes. There's this famous example, TurboTax, that online filing for tax system, found that if they introduced just a little bit of delay, people believed that the tax result was better. And so they could have provided instantaneous results. They deliberately added delays where it said, calculating your form, filling in entry 6D. And you're like, I don't really know what it's doing. But the fact that you're waiting makes it feel as though the result is better. I will say, not to caveat this whole thing that I've just shared, the AI agents that are deep researching today, OpenAI's deep research or Perplexity's deep research, they are actually doing things. They're not just pretending,
Yes,
right? They're,
exactly.
that 20-minute calculation is actively searching the internet and pulling information and sort of having a conversation with itself about what's the most relevant information to then go show to you. But yeah, very funny.
But yes, it was more than 60 sources that it sifted through. If I had to do it myself, it would have taken half a day, for sure. Minimum, maybe a full day. And maybe I would not have understood it properly. But I started, and then I think I went get a cup of tea, open the door for my cat, then,
There you go.
then check it out, do something else. And yeah.
And it probably was a really good result. Like I would venture a guess that, what you got was very helpful and saved you quite a deal of time.
Yeah. It was good. And I run a parallel deep research, so with ChatGPT and Gemini, and they both came to the same conclusion. So if I wanted to expand my IT training business to the US, I should focus on 4 states because those 4 states do not have taxable income for B2B services. And so it's a New Hampshire, I don't remember, there are 4 states. And then at the end, I had a follow-up and I asked them, can you create a table listing those states from most favorable to me to least, from a tax perspective, from most favorable to least favorable, including the time zone, because I wanted the time zone the closest to me for Europe.
Okay.
And it made this table for me. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
So very good. We're almost at the end of the show. What tip or trick did you discover on your Mac recently that you wished you knew before?
Such a good question. It really is. One of my favorite things that I frequently use, and the thing that gets the most sort of like aha, wow reactions from friends, it's just this little Chrome extension. And Chrome extensions they're my favorite, right? They're little ways to take your little web browsing experience, right? It doesn't have to be feature rich, and just make it 0.5%, 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're using the browser for everything, which is most of us today, I think that's actually, it could be a very valuable thing. And so for me, there's this one called One Tab, which I'm not sure if you use this, Damien.
I know about it. I don't use it, but I know. Yeah, I know about it.
Okay. This gets the most reactions because, frankly, so me growing up in computers and computer science, right? I've spent years hanging out with engineers. Most of us, when we open up a browser, we don't close it. It stays open for the rest of maybe the year, depending on who they are. And then you end up having little tiny slivers of a tab that are each one like, 1/2 inch across. You can only see an icon and they go all the way across your screen, right? You have 100 tabs open at once. And if you have a powerful enough computer, some of these Macs people are running on, you can do that, right? If you're running M2, M3, no problem, keep all your tabs open. But it gets a little bit confusing after a while. And so what I've got with One Tab is you just click this little button. It collapses all of the tabs into one and saves the links sort of in this, nested little structure where you can then go later on and you can just one click and send all of those tabs back up to open them up again.
Mm-hmm.
And so this way I can compartmentalize my work. If I'm working on one project, which requires me to have, a Google Sheet open and requires me to then also have open like YouTube for some research and ChatGPT for some conversations, I can open up those tabs. I can start having a conversation, do all my work. And then when I'm done with that work, I just hit one tab, it closes and collapses it. The next time I want it open, I can open it back up again. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that just declutters my workflow, declutters my mind. And for me, that's an aha because I didn't know of another way before that app existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. It's a good tip. Because I'm guilty myself of having a lot of tabs open. And the way I deal with that is through profiles. I have different profiles in Chrome, in Edge, in Safari. and I keep pushing the problem, and I diffuse the problem with with different browsers
Yep.
and profiles. Very good.
You know, I think it's worth mentioning too. I know we're almost at time, but the high quality video that you have on the screen right now, right? That tip that you gave me about using an iPhone as your camera content is just tremendous. I think we all have a 4K camera in our pockets, a high quality, DSLR type camera, as you mentioned, and being able to connect that up and use that as your webcam is perhaps the most efficient and genius trick that I've heard in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I could not. I would not use the built-in webcam of my iMac, even though it's a 2020 iMac. It has a 1080p camera. It's nowhere near in terms of richness, compared to the iPhone camera. And that's again, that's the beauty of the Apple ecosystem. The fact that the iPhone communicates so well with the Mac, and in macOS I have just this little button and I can quickly change the appearance, activate the bokeh effect or the portrait mode, yes or no, and Studio Light. Now I'm using Studio Light, and yeah,
Tremendous.
yeah, very good. Last question: if you were in charge of the Mac division at Apple, what would be your first priority, whether it's on the hardware side of things or the software side of things?
Yeah. You know, it's a big red flag right now for Apple, I think. And if anyone at Apple is listening, I think this is worth considering, and you've probably already considered it a great deal. But the recent news is that Johnny Ive, the man behind so many of the beautiful Apple products that we know and love, has been recently, solidifying a massive multi-billion-dollar deal with OpenAI,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can build some sort of new device, which in the intersection of beautiful Apple-esque design, I'm sure, knowing Johnny, and in the intersection of, AI and conversational and agents and being able to quickly access information and knowledge, they're thinking through, okay, what is the new experience for users, given that we have abundant knowledge at our fingertips now, and we can use that knowledge and directly apply it to things, right? That the AI is going out and solving problems, as we've talked about, Damien. And so I think the advice I would have, or the feature that I would request, is, can we think about for a second what a fully baked in AI experience for Mac looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can we think about what applying Apple's best understanding of security and how to make beautiful hardware and how to make powerful hardware? Can we think about what would it look like for AI native Apple everything, and for the user experience to be completely re-engineered from the ground up? I think we haven't adapted yet. I think as users on the internet, as computer scientists, software engineers, people who are thinking thoroughly about these problems, I don't think we've even begun to grasp how revolutionary AI is going to be in the way that we interact with computers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the beginning, but I think Apple has the best shot of probably any company in the world at creating a truly compelling AI first experience,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think they are making that mistake, because the mistake would be to try to compete with OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and so on. But as you said, an AI native macOS interface and an iOS interface, that is what is missing at the moment. If they can figure that out, they will be well played.
Agreed.
Yeah. And that's nice, because it ties everything up with the theme of today's episode. Very good.
It absolutely does. Yeah. If I could give the quickest shout out, if anyone listening to this, wants to go deeper, Damien, you're a great person to contact, but also please reach out to me as well,
Mm-hmm.
because we have frankly, our goal, with a lot of folks is just to get them beyond ChatGPT and beyond Claude.
Mhm.
These tools are super powerful as they are today, but there are ways that you can implement things into your workflow that will just, frankly, just remove the headache and the burden that you currently experience with some sort of process that saves on efficiency, that saves on productivity and time. The goal is to save money and make money at the same time, right? As a business or as an owner, as an entrepreneur. And frankly, I just think going back to early internet, right? If you think about how maybe there was a website created like Facebook that we all began to use, but your business didn't have a website yet because why would you need one? Gradually over time, everybody came to be using the internet and using websites. Now it's just table stakes, right? You need a website to be relevant in today's day and age. You need an Instagram presence and a LinkedIn presence and all of these things that we've come to now just expect out of business. And I think we're going to see a similar revolution on AI. AI is a brand new platform for the way that we gather information from each other as human beings, the way that we implement it. And frankly, every business will need to think about from the bottom up, not just using the latest tools, but what are the feature-rich opportunities for us to build an AI that solves exactly our problems on automation, that plugs into what I'm already doing every single day and does it in a more meaningful way for my clients and customers, to enrich, not to replace human connection. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and would love to talk to anybody that has questions about that.
Yeah, very good. So where can people find you online, Lucas?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn frequently. So Lucas Erb on LinkedIn. You can find me with the profile that has a robot dog in it. I'm also, super available on email. So if anyone wants to reach out, it's lucas@aiexperts.com. Feel free to reach out, and aiexperts.com is the URL. And so you can find information there as well.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes and also in the description of the YouTube video.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Lucas. So if, like Lucas, you would like to share how you are using your Mac to run your solopreneur business, it's simple. Just visit macpreneur.com/apply. If you are on Podmatch, just click on the button and you will land on the show profile. Otherwise, fill the application form and I will get back to you within a few days. Once again, it's macpreneur.com/apply. In the comments below, please share your main takeaway from this episode. And if not done yet, please subscribe to my channel so you will get more helpful tips on how to run your business on your Mac. And until next time, I'm Daniel Schreurs, wishing you a great day.
Thank you for watching the Macpreneur podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave a comment and share it with a friend right now.